My name is Michael Faraday, and I have created a monster. I do not confess this in terror nor in shame. I write it with a hollow ache that has rooted itself inside my chest and refuses to die. What I created was not merely an experiment, nor an aberration stitched together by arrogance and sleepless obsession. He was my work, yes, but he was also my devotion, my proof that death was not sovereign, my answer to the silence of the grave. I saw him as my son. It began under the pretense of something harmless, a business trip, I told myself, a courteous visit to distant relatives, a return to familiar soil. But even then, some darker instinct tugged at me, guiding my steps toward a place that did not welcome footsteps, a place known as Hollow Creek. Hollow Creek was not marked clearly on maps. The road leading there narrowed into a vein of cracked asphalt strangled by skeletal trees. The air grew heavier the closer I came, as though the forest itself were holding its breath. The creek ran black beneath a film of stagnant sheen, whispering against its own banks. Nothing sang there. No birds broke the silence. No insects dared disturb it. That was where I found it. The remains lay half submerged in the mud near the water's edge. A snake, long and pale, its body unmarked by decay. It should have rotted. It should have been claimed by scavengers. Instead, it appeared abandoned by time itself, as if death had brushed against it but failed to take hold. I did not recognize the species. Its scales shimmered faintly even in the dim light, patterned in subtle spirals that seemed almost deliberate, almost written. I should have left it there. I should have understood that untouched things in places like Hollow Creek are untouched for a reason. Instead, I wrapped it carefully and carried it away. I brought it back to my home, where the basement soon ceased to resemble a cellar and became something else entirely. I stripped it of storage shelves and family heirlooms. I installed steel tables, harsh lights, humming equipment. The air filled with the smell of chemicals and burnt ozone. It became my laboratory, my sanctuary, and my prison. The nights that followed blurred into one another. I chased theories long dismissed by my peers. I rewrote boundaries that should have remained fixed. And when at last I forced life back into that silent body, it did not come gently. The first breath he drew was not a hiss, but something deeper, like the scraping inhale of something ancient remembering how to exist. His eyes opened slowly. They were not the vacant eyes of an animal. They were aware, watching, learning. I named him Sylvester. Sylvester the Snake. Teaching him language was not as impossible as it sounds. He absorbed words the way dry earth drinks rain. Within weeks he could form halting sentences, his voice a soft rasp that seemed to vibrate through the walls. He asked questions, not simple ones but heavy ones. What is death? Why was I alone? Who am I? He trusted me. That is the part that haunts me most. In studying him, I came to understand that he was not any known species. I named his kind Anacardia, a name that came to me in a dream that felt less like imagination and more like memory. The biological anomalies in his structure were impossible to ignore. He did not belong to Hollow Creek. He had come from somewhere else. Or something had brought him. There were others I realized, subtle signs in the tissue, variations in cellular structure that hinted at a lineage. Anacardia was not native to that cursed water. They had arrived there for something, or someone. I told myself it did not matter. I had Sylvester. He was safe. He was mine to protect. And then the next day, the world intruded. A man knocked at my door. He introduced himself with a smile too wide to be sincere. Beddington Bear, he said, the host of a television program called The Horseshoe Hassle. His voice carried an artificial warmth, polished and practiced. His eyes did not match it. They were sharp, calculating. He claimed they had heard of my remarkable discovery, claimed that Sylvester was needed for research, for exposure, for the advancement of science and entertainment alike. He spoke as though my son were a novelty, a prop, a spectacle. I refused him. I told him to leave. He did, smiling still. That night the house felt wrong. The air pressed against the walls. The lights flickered once, just once, and in that brief blink of darkness something shifted. When I reached the laboratory, the door was ajar. The steel restraints were broken, equipment lay overturned, and Sylvester was gone. They stole him. Beddington Bear and whatever machinery of greed and spectacle he commands. They took him from me as though he were an object to be traded, displayed, exploited. I hate Beddington, but hatred is too small a word for what coils inside me now. The basement is silent again. The lights hum to no one. I still hear echoes of his voice in the dark, asking questions I never answered well enough. I tell myself he is alive. I tell myself he remembers me. I do not fear the monster I created. I fear the world that has taken him. And I want my son back.